viewers, hot on the heels of the last German route, Fallschwitz-Ludwigsbahn, we've got Mittenwaldbahn, which is from Train Sim Germany. A video has been posted with the first look, so let's give it a watch. Righto then, that's Mittenwaldbahn's the first release. Now you notice one of the things it's got is the crocodile locomotive, and let me try and pick this up relatively carefully because it's made of Lego. This is a crocodile. Now it's a bit different to the one in the game, but it is the same basic principle in that the end engine units, these and these, they actually pivot around pivot points under the frame, so it's sort of like three driving units in one, because the central frame in this one is driven and the outside ones are driven as well. So it's a good way to make a very powerful locomotive with a very lightweight footprint but still have some pretty good sized grunt. So it should be interesting to see this in the game, because it's the first time we've had a articulated locomotive of this kind that I can remember. I can't think of any others anyway. And because it's coming from TSG, we should expect something pretty decent. Now, I might point out that TSG is run by one of Dovetail's developers, but he started off TSG. Anyway, let's go through the article. As usual, I read these to improve the accessibility of the information and to add anything I might have as well. So, let's get going. A retro setting, a classic locomotive, and cross-border travel. Mittenwaldbahn is coming soon from the TSG team, releasing on February the 11th. Mittenwaldbahn Innsbruck to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. Now we see the Crocodile 1020 in OBB livery, climbing a fairly steep gradient with certainly a very heavily wooded area with lots of trees. And a very lightweight looking overhead too. We revealed Mittenwaldbahn during the Week 2 of 2024's Season of Reveals, showcasing a selection of screenshots and confirming the locomotives and rolling stock included. We followed this with more screenshots in the January roadmap. This route, set in 1989 and developed by Train Sim Germany, features cross-border running between Austria and Germany and introduces the classic crocodile-style locomotive to Train Sim World. Not sure if you're hearing it, by the way, but you might be hearing some fan noise in the background. It's 40 degrees here right now, so staying cool. In the four shots you can see divided up here, we have the crocodile crossing a bridge, and let's say cab car. Have we seen that one before? I think we have. And that's the one from Niedertalbahn, and a 218. Over here, which is the weird one because it looks like it's got these giant exhaust stacks, which it does, but they just look weird. But anyway, Train Sim Germany has been creating content for both Train Simulator Classic and Train Sim World since 2021, both as a contractor and as an apartment program developer. Previous Train Sim World releases include the G6 shunting locomotive and the fan favourite Niedertalbahn route, as well as Train Sim World's first expert level locomotive, the DBBR 101, and the first German mainline diesel locomotive, the DBBR 218. The route. The might of machinery makes a molehill out of a mountain. Step back into 1989 and embark on a daring climb featuring steep gradients, stunning scenery, and the iconic Crocodile. Head off on a nostalgic adventure between Germany and Austria. You can see they're using the distant scenery techniques that we introduced in earlier versions, using a bit of fog to make the game render less so your frame rate stays reasonable. Also known as the Karwendelbahn, the Mittenwaldbahn traverses the Alps between Bavaria, Germany, and Tyrol, Austria. Talks of a mountain railway went far back as the 1880s, although no trains would turn a wheel over the pass until 1912. The line was planned to be electrified from the start to make tackling the route much easier. Well, I'm tipping it wasn't in the 1880s, but perhaps in the early 1900s, sure. See a crocodile lumbering through the snow, hauling a passenger train with the grey and green coaches. I think they're cream in reality, but grey and green in that shot. Even with the electric traction, traversing a mountain range is no small feat for a standard gauge railway. The Mittenwaldbahn features many tunnels and iconic bridges, with incredible ruling grades as steep as 3.8%. Well, the railway operates steam trains on has 3%, so, 3.8, yeah, it's steep, but it's not that steep. Such lines offer challenge but also scenic wonder, taking the sights of the peaks and valleys, with the rails rising as high as 1.1 kilometres above sea level, and Seafell providing the summit of the route. We have Finkel. Must be where Batfink lives. Along the route lie principal stations at Innsbruck, Mittenwald and Garmisch-Partenkirchen, punctuated by impressive infrastructure such as the bridge at Schlossbachklamm. The area is known for its ski resorts, and services will vary between those transporting ski tourists and local freight for the town situated along the route. The trains. You can see the Crocodile and the DBBR 111. The OBB 1020 Crocodile. And you can see in this shot, it's actually fairly clear. You can see, similar to my model, this one actually looks a little bit different though. It actually looks like the driving frame is one piece on each of them. So the frame or the body itself, it's a little bit like a Garrett locomotive on steam engines, I guess. So the main locomotive body is, oh, that's not showing my cursor. Okay, that's not helpful then. The locomotive body in the centre is suspended over the two independent bogie motor units, and each of those bogie motor units articulates under the locomotive, which means that the units at the front and rear of the locomotive will pivot independently in curves, which will make it quite different to anything else we've got, and it should look pretty cool. Joining Train Sim World for the first time is the classic European shape of a locomotive, often given the term crocodile, or crocodile. This term extends to different classes of locomotive, mainly in Switzerland, but also Austria, Germany, and others beyond that. The long snouts at either end are reminiscent of those from reptilian nature, with the cab, pantographs, and transformer located in the central section. Many examples of this locomotive style date back to over a century ago. It's a fairly simple one with air brakes by the looks of it. So you've got main res and possibly the equalising res or the brake pipe shown there. And on this one you've got the Bremsen cylinder, so that's the air pressure in the brake cylinder. And what looks like a speedometer down there. I think I can just make out kilometres per hour up there, so it's probably the speedometer. And also all of the amperage and voltages on the traction motors. The OBB 1020 Crocodile dates from later, with examples built between 1940 and 1956. As a result, this locomotive offers a vastly different sort of driving experience to that of the European locomotives in Train Sim World. Turning the control wheel results in the taps visibly moving in the machine room as you travel up and down the mountainous route. So that implies you can travel in the machine room. That could be an interesting thing to do with an AI if they're animated. DBBR 111 in DBB blue and cream livery. Yes, blue and cream, but it looks kind of grey, but anyway, that's okay. Joining the Crocodile is the BR111, previously seen in Bandstreck, Salzburg, Rosenheim, and the separate Train Sim World 5 gameplay pack. In both of those settings, it represents a classic form of traction over more modern locomotives. In Mittenwaldbahn, instead of the 111, offers a more modern experience over the aging OBB 1020 and comes in a new livery of DBB blue and cream, making a change from the ubiquitous red paint scheme seen in this part of Europe. For Mittenwaldbahn, this cab and exterior have been worked on to better represent this locomotive as seen in the late 1980s, including a reworked cab layout. The above image shows the reworked older cab for Mittenwaldbahn left and the more modern version seen in Ludwigsbahn, Mannheim, Kaiserslautern and Bahnstrecke Salzburg, Rosenheim on the right. You can see they've changed the cabs around a little bit. So slightly different flavour of the same locomotive. This locomotive will also feature the safety system Indussi rather than PZB. This safety system was previously seen on Mittelbahn's BR365, and players that are not familiar with the system will be able to learn more with the route's manual, which will be published around the release. Indussi, I think, is actually an earlier version of PZB. It's actually very similar in the way it works. Coaches and wagons. N-Wagon Silberlingi B and ABN IC coaches ES50, RMMS 663, Tadegs and Shims wagons. So it's got a selection of stock, some new, some old. Facilitating both passenger and freight services is a selection of rolling stock with both new additions and re-liveries of stock seen in previous route add-ons. Silberlinge B and ABN coaches in DBD brushed metal livery are hauled by both locomotives for passenger trains along the route, with notable weathering on the roof. Mixed rates of IC coaches, that's intercity, in both DBB blue and cream, and red and cream liveries for more presentable setting for passengers. I've got a selection of freight here. I think these wagons are the new ones. I don't recall seeing those anywhere before. They actually look kind of cool with their elevated tie-downs. I'd love to see you tie down some steel though. It doesn't appear to actually be fixed down as a load in any way. For freight trains, the new wagons included are the add-on, the DBB ES50 and the DBB RMMS 663, with the latter hosting 4 different types of loads. Tadegs 959 and Shims 708 wagons are also included in new DBB liveries. Timetable and gameplay. We can see another livery in the coaches there too. Slightly different version. The timetable will feature services focused primarily on the OBB 1020, which has 104 playable services, supporting 63 services from the DBB BR111. Both of these locomotives haul trains across the entire route, which is punctuated by single-track running, which creates bottlenecks and limit the number of services running at one time. Additional service layers as the 365. Looks like they still haven't fixed the lotting problem around the numbers and the DB on the side too, which is sad. The 2 additional service layers will feature for players that have other add-ons in their collection. These are the BR365 from Mittelbahn, operating playable services between Garmisch and Mittenwald, 5 playable services in total, and the BR103 from Link Rheinstrecke, operating AI services at Innsbruck. And that explains the other livery of coaches they're pulled by the 103. Players with the recently released Ludwigsbahn route will also be able to utilise a rail tour layer from Mittenwaldbahn, featuring the BR103 from Link Rheinstrecke and the IC coaches. Players can also create their own OBB 1020 rail tours on other routes with free roam and formation designer. So in that one, they're not saying the train from Ludwigsbahn comes into this route, it's the other way around. It's a service that you can see it in the game, but you can't play it yet. Collectibles. Along the way, there'll be plenty of collectibles to find and tasks to complete, including putting up stickers, replacing milk bottles, and tidying up luggage racks and ski equipment. Now, milk bottles is a bit of an in-joke, because in Train Sim Classic, if your asset was not actually part of the build, it turned up as a milk bottle, so that's kind of novel. Somebody had a good giggle about that, I'm sure. Anyway, Train Sim World 5, Mittenwaldbahn, Innsbruck to Garmisch, Partenkirchen. Route add-on will release on the 11th of February for Xbox One, Xbox Series X and X, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Epic Games Store and Steam. So it is coming out for both Gen 8 and Gen 9 consoles, which it does a little bit of a reverse in the trend from recent times. Anyway, it's €39.99, £32.99 or $44.99 US dollars. And Australians, our dollar's a bit crappy at the moment. That's probably going to kick it over $70, I would think, for the route. So It does actually look like quite an interesting route. Looks like the kind of experience that I actually like to play. So we'll see what it's like when it comes out. And as usual, hopefully I will get it a little bit early and be able to make some tutorials for the, particularly the crocodile. The 111 will carry over from the others, I suppose, but particularly the crocodile, and we can see what it's like and experience it, and I can share it with you before it's released. Alrighty, have fun, folks. See you later, and looking forward to Mittenwaldbahn. Bye now.
We played a game.